So you're going first for the Bengals. You going Joe Burrow?
Okay, first for the Bengals with the first pick in the NFL draft. The Cincinnati Bengals select quarterback out of LSU, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow
Heisman
now with his
Trophy
first
champion, national champion, first overall draft pick, dropping bombs into the loving arms of his receivers, leader on and off the field. Looked good smoking a cigar after winning the Natty.
Looked great.
Here he is. Look at that look. That's a good look.
Sorry, I gotta type him in. Yeah, I'll be honest. I was not sold on him until recently. But
sure.
I'm now fully sold on him. Chaboy's good.
Yeah, dude.
Chaboy's very, very
good.
I don't think he's ever going to be, like, the best QB in the league. But I think he will, like, consistently be a top 10. And, like, there's, like, a chance he'll have one MVP season with the right crew around him.
Yeah. I have said before that not as a player comp, but as, like, a career success comp, that, like, Matthew Stafford looks like a good thing to me, where it's like, he balls out on a bad team, and people are always going, "Oh, hey, people really aren't appreciating Joe Burrow right now. He's been playing well, even though his team hasn't been doing that well." So yeah,
I think that's fair. Yeah. All right, real quick, let's see. A hole is censored in the chat for you. Let's see. Let me check if.
So when JJ Goat is talking about a hole in Bucatini, apparently it might be censored there. Okay.
Interesting. Let's see. All right, so some questions we got. Are you more of a Tua boy? I was more of a Tua boy. I'm more sold on Joe Burrow now. This guy, Tim Dix, the guy who does the Sports Center, the sports science, the guy who actually does the science, not just the host, made a very compelling argument that Joe Burrow has, like, the best mental processing of any QB in college he's seen in recent memory. Yeah. All right, and then, like, let's see. Joe Burrow to the Bengals. He was never heard from again. I think there's a real potential for that. I don't know. I think there's a real potential that he will be on a 4-12 squad for the first couple seasons of his career.
I think it'll be like, I don't know, we're seeing guys like Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, and then in the next couple of years, the guys like sort of like Sam Darnold and stuff, where it's like they get a shot at being a starting quarterback, and then they sort of like aren't really good enough to hack it, kind of like right on the thing there. I feel like Joe Burrow will be good enough to hack it. That I think he signs a second contract with Cincinnati.
I'm a Sam Darnold believer as well.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I honestly think he's like a not quite as good, like he's not as accurate as Joe Burrow, but his mental processing is like only a hair slower. And like they won some games at the end of last season, and early on, like we talked about, had the worst luck possible. Like so many injuries, he got mono. Like they were a laughing stock of a team, but I don't know that they will be this year. I would be shocked if they are below 8-8. I would say. Yeah,
I think Adam Gase is.
I think he is not good.
Not confounding variable, but it's like. Any player who's playing on the Jets team right now could be showing worse tape than they actually are, just because Adam Gase is not a good head coach.
Agreed. So, I do not believe in Adam Gase, so I think that is that is a limiting factor for sure.
But I do think, to bring it back to the big man at hand, Joe Burrow, even if Zach Taylor is a bad coach, Burrow kind of has the like pocket presence and like sort of like schoolyard football mentality to kind of like thrive in a dysfunctional team a little bit.
I don't know that I agree. I think he will be fine. Like from all accounts, he's like a top 3 most competitive QB prospect of the last 20 years. Like it's just like people are comparing him to Tom Brady and Drew Brees, and that like he's just like a weirdo who will find different things to compete over. Like he's like the type of guy who's like at a diner and he's like, "How many sugar packets can you eat now?" But so I think he'll mentally be fine, but I think an argument against that is the fact that he's a 1-year wonder because his coaches used him poorly until now. Like, if Zach Taylor doesn't take advantage of, like, his main skill set, which is, like, intermediate throws and processing quickly, like a lot of shallow crossers, then he will be bad and there's not much he can do about it.
Yeah, that's good analysis right there. In the chat, Lukovich says, wish Darnold's white blood cells were a little more accurate. He missed some games last year with mono. That's a very funny joke. Good gag. And then, who will win Ohio's heart? I think Burrow will be way better than Baker.
I want Baker to succeed so bad, man. I'm such a Baker fan.
I don't know if it's mutually exclusive. Like, I don't know if I feel like the Browns are Ohio's team and the Bengals are like Cincinnati area's team. Because Cincinnati is like on the border of Cincinnati and Kentucky, and Cleveland is on like they're on opposite ends of the state. So it's not like two LA teams where you have like people rooting for the Rams and not the Chargers because they're fighting over the same turf. It like feels like they're two pretty different turfs.
Right.
That said, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would say it's very similar to that in that it seems like a lot of people care about one of those teams and no one cares about the other team. Like, it seems like there are a lot of it seems like when the Bengals were good, they had roughly the same number of fans as the Browns, and the Browns were 20 years into being awful. So, like, I think that says something about the potential fan bases.
Hot Chocolate Baptism calls you out for taking Baker's side, saying, is that just stash loyalty?
It's not stash loyalty. It's that Baker Mayfield is like... let's see. Good and bad boy. Is that just stash loyalty? Baker Mayfield is just likable. He's just so likable.
Yeah. Joe Burrow's pretty likable, too. These are two likable QBs.
I agree. I would say I agree that I don't think it's mutually exclusive. They're both very likable. Baker Mayfield is like as likable as a prospect has been to me in quite some time. Going out there and planting the flag after that win is like one of the most baller things I've ever seen.
And then when Joey Bosa did it, or Nick Bosa did it, and he was like, "Oh, it seems like he's been thinking about that game for a while." Cool. That was a funny take to have on it. I do think that, like, it needs to be said that, like, if there is any like Ohio State battle between Baker and Burrow, it will come down to which team is winning. Like, the fans will flock to the success. If the Browns make it to the playoffs, there will be a lot of Browns fans in Ohio. If the Bengals make it to the playoffs, which I don't think it'll happen, but if they make it to the playoffs, the state will root for them too. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know enough about Ohio sports loyalties to feel confident making an assertion one way or the other. Yes, that Baker is a cocky prick. He also seems like weird, like over the top loyal, which I admire. He just seems like the type of dude who'd be like, this kid was in my kindergarten class, so I'm willing to punch someone for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
I love it. I'm into it. I think it's what you need I just think he's a good leader. He just seems like a legit good leader. And
cool.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
There he is, Joe Burrow on the board, number 1 overall. Should we keep it rolling with the number 2 pick?
Yeah, baby. All right. So, going number 2 to the to quote Eitan Mosia, the Burgundy team in Washington. I'm going Chase Young. I tried to talk myself into Isaiah Simmons several times during this, and I just couldn't do it. I'm going Chase Young. The names are going to chop off slightly. If you are confused by who someone is, that's fine. Just let us know. I'll tell you. He's really good, and I kept vacillating between if I thought this should be what we think will happen or what we want to happen. Pardon me. And so I think, honestly, my standards will have changed several times throughout this process. But there's just no scouting report of Chase Young that I can find that isn't like, oh, he's the best we've ever seen. Every single person is like, he's incredible in every way.
So there he is, number 2, DN sacking the quarterback.
He's just Andre talked about him. He's just like this guy who's just like, he's fast and agile, and then just also crazy strong. So he's able to just take these like super efficient paths to the ball carrier, because unless you are offensive tackle who is fully in front of him, he's gonna get past you. It's like the opposite of a running back breaking arm tackles. It's like he breaks arm blocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's like, if you've got, we're gonna have our graphics department whip something up here.
Yeah, please do.
If you've got, oh shit. Okay, let me get the. Okay, if you've got Chase Young right here, the O lined up against the offensive line, right? Conceivably, his job is to go from here to the quarterback, right, in a straight line. Well, some guys will go take a really wide, long looping path to get there, some speed rushers and stuff like that. But what Chase Young can do is he can basically go just like this, and then when this tackle here tries to pop him right here with a block there, it barely sets him off from his path. So
it does nothing.
He can basically take as direct of a path as he needs, because if he can get a shoulder to the outside of the guy, he's strong enough and sturdy enough to stay upright instead of being knocked off his path.
Chase Young, I will be surprised if Chase Young does not have multiple 5-sack games in his career. Like, it's like, I think like most truly elite pass rushers get like one of those in their career. Mm-hmm. I think he will have at least 2, maybe 3. Like, there's just going to be like some game where he's lined up against like a backup right tackle, and he's just going to demolish him over and over and over.
And it's hard to
look at this. Look at what he does with one hand here. So the running back gets past him, he grabs him by the back of the jersey and yanks him to the ground. It's astounding. He's so strong.
Yeah. If Young is drafted by the DC team, any side bets on how they ruin his career? Honestly, I think that they're just going to have a really good defense, and their struggles will be on the offensive side of the ball, and then we might see something like Jacksonville that happens, where this collection of great players on a bad team is just like, hey, we're not going to play here anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, let's not forget how good a name Chase is for someone who's pursuing the QB.
Hot take. I love it. Who is that? Lunkovich? Hot take.
Yeah. I like it. It's like, yeah, it does seem like a player you would see in like NFL Street, where it's like, Darius Catch out as your wide receiver or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just like can't stop noticing things. The QB that he just like ran through is a giant man. He just ran through like a 240-pound QB like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to think of a safer pick than an elite pass rushing D end. Yeah. Like, if you look at the guys who have been taken top 5 at this position in the last decade, like J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, Von Miller, if you want to, blur the line between OLB and DE and stuff. Like, these guys have all had very good careers.
Right.
I can't think of the last one who was like a straight up bust. And even most of them seem like, Pro Bowlers and instead of just role players. So, like, you really can't look a gift horse in the mouth here. Washington taking Chase Young. It is piling strength on strength, which I think is interesting. That, like, for a team that has a lot of needs, D-line actually isn't really one of their needs. But I think if there's ever a position to double up on, it's,
pass rush.
The D-line where where it's, like, have a huge effect on the game in the defense. You are using a rotating, you're rotating guys in and out all game. So it's not like other positions where beyond the starters, you won't see that many snaps. It's a situation where, like, we could see this team build themselves like San Francisco, where it's like elite D-line built through the draft. And then if you can patch together the holes in other ways, then suddenly you have a full roster very quickly.
Right. I think there's an argument to be made that, like, I think Ryan Kerrigan is on his final year of his contract. He's also, like, 31 at this point, so it's like they don't need D-line. But it's not like they're so secure at D-line that he'll be wasted. Chase is an Aries. Good to know.
April 14th.
Ooh, pretty good. Pretty good. We're
His
April
birthday
6th
was just
and 7th, so
a week ago.
No big deal. Yeah, Solomon Thomas that's a decent argument. I think Solomon Thomas was supposed to be more of a pass rushing D tackle though. I think he was supposed to be like he might have been a D end in a 3-4 scheme, but I think he was more supposed to be like a pass rushing DT in a 4-3 if I remember correctly.
And I think that's a really good point to bring up of like the guy, the one miss in this category, but it's also sort of the exception that proves the rule that like most of the other guys are all-star names, you know.
Yeah.
Solomon. Good name for someone who's supposed to be splitting the O-line apart. Love it.
That's awesome. Oh, every time I see him, look at the Maryland helmet, dude. The Maryland helmet is way too much, and I love it. I can't get enough.
Yeah, dude. Maryland took Ohio State to overtime, not this last season, but the season before. So I was looking forward to the Maryland-Ohio State game this year, and Ohio State just won like 60-7.
That makes sense. All right, you want to move on?
Yeah, let's keep going.
All right,
okay,
so you're picking for your Detroit Lions.
I am picking for my Detroit Lions, okay? Yes. And there's a few things. I mean, I really need to choose my words carefully here because I don't want to get off on every single tangent about all of the Detroit Lions. But
yes,
there's a few different things I could do here. It's like one is what I would do personally, me.
Right.
What I think the team will do, what I think makes sense. So like, what I think will happen tomorrow is that the Lions will find a trade partner in either the Dolphins or the Chargers, move down to 5 or 6.
Right.
Okay. Do we want to include that trade in this mock draft right now?
I'm so sorry.
No?
Who are they moving down with?
Miami Dolphins at 5.
I don't think the Dolphins are going to trade up.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be enough pressure to do so. I don't think they're going to need to.
See, here's the thing. I don't think there's necessarily going to be a lot of pressure, but I think like if both the Dolphins and the Chargers want Tua, one of them is going to have to trade up for him, or one of them is going to want to trade up for him.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins could stand pat and get him at 5. I think it would be risky because the Chargers could step in and.
So I think
him.
the Chargers are moving forward with Tyrod Taylor. Anthony Lynn was in Buffalo when Tyrod Taylor was like a probably like between 15th and 18th best QB. I think they're standing pat with him. I think Anthony Lynn looks around the league. He sees what mobile QBs can do. He says Tyrod Taylor has never been used effectively. I'm just going to use him effectively, not use like crazy resource, use a bunch of resources up on a QB and stay pat. I think the Dolphins are the only team after Tua. Like really, really after Tua. Klopfer says that he's hearing rumors about the Lions grabbing Tua. What are your feelings on that?
I don't think they will, partly because like few reasons. So I think that that's like legitimately a strategy that some people think could pay off, could be good. Like a third of the Lions fan base is like Stafford's a bum. Let's get Tua in there.
Right.
Or I think the more reasonable perspective to take on this is like Stafford may have like 1 to 2 years left in his career, so let's get Tua to replace him. My perspective is like Stafford. If Stafford retires, we'll be bad enough that we'll be in the mix for the top quarterback anyway. So, like, why try and predict it now? Just wait until we truly need a new quarterback, and we'll have a number 1 overall pick to draft a new quarterback.
Right.
It just seems like a little early to make that shift, to make that reset, unless Stafford has told the front office, like, "Hey, I'm on my way out," kind of thing.
So here's a rebuttal to that.
Okay.
Currently, you have 2 really good assets. You have the number 3 pick, which is probably, like, you will be able to grab Tua if you want to.
Right.
And you have Matthew Stafford, who at this point could probably fetch a decent price. Like, until people see him play and go, oh, he is too injured to be good, like he is worth probably like at least one first round pick, if not that and then some.
You would have to trade. I think I would turn down 2 first-round picks for Matthew Stafford. I think you'd have to give 3 plus 2. Yeah.
He's just coming off a back injury.
Dude, he's a franchise quarterback. Our team would be like nothing next year and the year after and the year after.
Not if you grab Tua. Dude, Tua's really good. Like, if Tua is healthy. So, like, it's like, if Tua is healthy, then I think, honestly, I don't think you're in that different of a boat than you're in currently. Like, your style of good QB is different. He's, like, more of, like, a... Like, I don't know. He just doesn't have the rocket arm. You know, he's not throwing...
Right.
The same balls. But he's still a hyper-competent QB that you should be able to shape an offense around. And then if he's not healthy, then you're in the same situation, except you got something for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, but it's like the reason you would want to get things for Matthew Stafford is to make your roster better. And if you give up Matthew Stafford, your roster gets worse. Like, you should trade Matthew Stafford if he only has 1 year left playing in him, but I think he has 2, 3, maybe 4 years left playing in him. And so, like,
I think if you can trade...
He's more valuable on the team than off the team.
If you can trade 2 years of Matthew Stafford for 3 first-round picks and you get to get Tua, I think that's a reasonable use of resources.
Okay, 3 first-round picks I would consider and think about, yeah. 2 first-round picks...
I think 2, actually. I said 3 because you had just said 3, but I think if you could get 2, you take it. You take it and run. Carlito Hell makes a good point that multiple firsts for Stafford, questionable health, seems a bit much with Newton available. More questions than Stafford, but also younger.
So, Matthew Stafford is 1 year removed from a excellent half of a season that ended with injury. Cam Newton is like 3 years removed from us seeing him throw a football in an effective way. I think there's maybe a reason why teams aren't necessarily like rushing to sign Cam Newton.
Right.
I think like if you look at like name recognition and ability, like they are on the same page as each other, but like Newton is younger, but I do think he has
more tread on the tires
than Stafford.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about what the Lions should do all day. I just think like to be a good team, you have to have a good starting quarterback, and like you can say like Tua is not necessarily like a sure thing, right? Like I think we're a better team over the next 3 years if Stafford plays than if Tua plays.
I would say Stafford's not a sure thing. He gets injured constantly. He's specifically coming off of a back injury, which is like the most important part of your body to use to throw a ball and run around. I think they're equally not sure things. If anything, I would call Stafford less of a sure thing than Tua.
I think that is an outlandish statement. Stafford has a 10-year career in the NFL of being a quality NFL starter, and we're looking back like just like last year of a guy like, or 2 years ago of a guy like Sam Darnold being like in the top conversation right now. A guy like Baker Mayfield, who when they were coming out were like the top guy, and they're having trouble adjusting to the NFL and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I get that you can try to make that swap, but it's too cute of a swap. It's too risky of a swap. Having like a starting quality, proven NFL franchise quarterback is like a ledge that is hard to reach, and when you're not at it, you're doing everything you can do to reach it. So to just like give up Stafford is something that would set the team back immensely. Unless they know that this is his last year, but then they should start doing other things.
Like we've seen Stafford throw a touchdown with a separated shoulder. He's not gonna tell them this is his last year. At a certain point, you have to decide, hey, this guy who's 32 or 33 or 31, I think. Like this guy who's 31 or 32.
Yeah, he's 31.
who just had a horrible back injury, is probably not long for this game. Like, at a certain point, I think you have to make the
team
call.
doctors know more than, like, Stafford's word. Like, you're not just asking Matthew Stafford how long he's playing.
Right. I'm just saying you don't want to find yourself in an Indianapolis Colts situation where you've built because you presume you have this franchise QB going forward, and then suddenly you don't. And it's like, oh shit, 2 years ago we had... Because it's like, the thing with... So my argument for... Like, this is this class dependent. Like, in other years, I don't think I would feel this strongly about it. But it's like, I think Tua has a pretty good chance of being, like, another top 10 QB consistently. At least. With, like potential to be much more than that. And so it's...
Should I Photoshop a picture of Tua faving tweets of Fago as a draft? Yeah, dude. Let's get whatever... Hey, honestly, any professional athlete that wants to be a millionaire in the state of Michigan, good on you. Love Michigan, great state. There's more exciting places to be a millionaire, but yeah.
I'm just saying that I think you love Matthew Stafford in a way that I respect and relate to, but I don't think is necessarily purely reasonable. Like, I don't think you're being purely reasonable if you say you would rather have Matthew Stafford than Tua Tagovailoa and 2 additional first-round picks.
But, like, one of those first-round picks in the keep Stafford zone is the one you would spend on Tua Tagovailoa. So it's, like, not... So it's, like, Matthew Stafford and that first-round pick versus Tua and 2 other first-round picks. Like...
Say that one more time. I don't understand.
So it's, like... In the situation where we keep Matthew Stafford and don't take Tua,
right,
we still have the number 3 overall pick to pick a guy, right?
Right.
So it's Matthew Stafford and that first-round pick versus Tua, who's taken with the third overall pick, and 2 other first-rounders we trade for.
Okay, all right.
So, like, you're only gaining 1 first-round pick, basically.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's a fair point.
Here's the point I want to make is you're saying this is like a Colts situation where we are at risk of building a good roster. We're not at risk of building a good roster. We're a bad team. Like, this is a bad team. So what I don't want to do is bring the quarterback in first, fuck over a rookie quarterback that we spent this high risk pick on, and then waste his rookie year trying to build the team around him.
All right.
I want a good team so that when Stafford leaves, we can plug in a new quarterback.
Okay, all right. That I buy that. That is a solid. You've sold me.
Yeah, build from the inside out. Okay,
yeah. So all right, so who are you picking?
This pick. If it were me, the player that I want to see on my team, this is not the pick I'm going to lock in here, but I want Isaiah Simmons,
absolutely.
Man. I want to see a guy flying around. I want to see him tackle tight ends and running backs out of it. Our team is so goddamn slow that we cannot tackle people to save their life. Dalvin Cook coming around the outside on like on an outside one is like wouldn't scare me anymore. Yeah. You know, like George Kittle doing out routes wouldn't scare me anymore. So I would like to see Isaiah Simmons on the Lions.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think the writing is on the wall that they are going to pick Jeff Okudah, cornerback out of Ohio State. So in order to not disrupt the realism of this draft, I am going to say the official pick should be Jeff Okudah, and then we can talk about another place for Simmons to go. But I just want everyone to know that in my heart of hearts, I would like Isaiah Simmons on my team. Also, I have multiple times during this draft process kept calling him Isaiah Thomas. Yeah. So if he could somehow come to the Lions and challenge Isaiah Thomas as the best Isaiah in Detroit sports history, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. So I had the same thing. So like we talked earlier about how Chase Young is just like a definite safe bet at number 2. I think that is true, and I think he has potential to be like a really, really like absurdly good edge rusher. I also think that in 3 years there's a chance that all redrafts will start with like Isaiah Simmons. I think Isaiah Simmons has the potential to be like defensive player of the year several times over. Like he is, I just think he's like he's like a one of one. I don't think we've seen anyone quite like him up until now. He's like if Derwin James had an additional 15 pounds to like knock the crap out of people. He's just like.
Have you heard of Planet Theory?
Yes, I don't remember it. What is it?
It's this thing where it's like, so Planet Theory is just saying like how many guys on the planet are like that? How many guys on the planet can do that? Where it's like, okay, this guy could be like talented or whatever, but there's plenty of guys on the planet who can do that. Isaiah Simmons is a big Planet Theory guy. It's like, how many dudes are that tall and that big and that fast?
Right. Yes. Do you have any thoughts on Jeff Okudah? I gotta be honest, every time I watch his highlights, I don't have that much to say because he's like the type of shutdown corner where it's like, oh, they just don't throw the ball to him very much.
I'm so thrilled to watch him replace Darius Slay next year.
Yeah, that's a tough spot.
I'm excited that the best player that we will get out of this draft will be replacing a player who decided to stop playing for us.
Yeah.
My draft wish is a trade down. If we can trade down to 5 or 6 and still get Okudah and get an extra like second rounder out of it or something, or if we can trade down to like I don't know, the Jags at 9 or something, or even like the Raiders at 12 and just get like a good D lineman, JJ Goad saying Derek Brown. I'm worried about drafting Derek Brown really early, like with the 3rd pick or the 5th pick, like just because he's a run stopping D tackle. So if Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn spend the 3rd overall pick on a run stopping D tackle, we should just like put them in a VR machine where it's still 1975 and let them coach in Madden, because they are bad at their jobs and don't know how football actually works. So, and yeah, we do need more cornerbacks. So we signed Desmond Trufant off of the Falcons.
Yeah.
We have a draft pick last year. So it's a weird situation with a guy we drafted last year, Amani Oruwariye, where in mock drafts he was a 2nd rounder. There were Lions fans who were like crossing their fingers as we went up to the podium in the 2nd round, being like, Amani Oruwariye, Amani Oruwariye, Amani Oruwariye. Quite a tongue twister. And then there was like Jelani Tavai, this random linebacker out of Hawaii. People were like, what the hell is Bob Quinn doing? He could have gotten Amani Oruwariye, blah, blah, blah. 3 rounds later, we draft Amani Oruwariye in the 5th round. So it's like, I have no idea why he was still on the board, what happened there, why he fell so much, but like, we have this like young, good, physical guy who maybe still needs some development, who can step in, but probably not as like a starter right away. And then, so it's like CB2 is a big need for us. Desmond Trufant off the Falcons is going to be a pretty good CB1. I like to say that like if Darius Slay was a 9 out of 10, Desmond Trufant's probably going to be like 7 out of 10. So it's like a little step down, but like a little less money, a little less of a headache. So if we can get like 2 good corners, maybe that would help our pass rush get to the quarterback. But our pass rush sucks too, so it's just like we're going to be bad next year. Let's just get a couple guys so that in 2 years we can maybe be better. I don't know.
Would your best case scenario be someone trading up to 2 to get Tua and Chase Young falling to you?
Probably. I would say that would be to me equal to us getting a huge haul to trade down.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I could imagine a trade where I'm happier, or, I mean, if Tua goes at 2, we could be staring at Chase Young at 3 and trade down from 3. Like, that gives our pick value there. I don't know. I would be satisfied if Chase Young was a Lion. I'd be pretty excited if Chase Young was a Lion. I'd also be pretty excited if we walked away from the day with 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks instead of 1.
Right.
But standing pat and taking Jeff Okudah is like the mid level. It's like the nothing. It's like the pure flavor LaCroix. It's like either it's going to be worse than that or it's going to be better than that, and that's just the thing that's probably going to happen.
Right. It's just a bummer. You're in the same situation that like the Panthers are when I see them getting Simmons mocked to them, where it's like, that's so exciting and such a bummer because you essentially are just running back the same team as last year. Like, you got a blue chipper to replace your blue chipper, and that sucks. That's, like, not a fun position to be in as a fan. Because the whole source of joy with this, and, like, why I genuinely feel like a kid on Christmas morning during the draft, is that it's, like, you get to just think about what could be, and you get to just, like, fantasize about all the, like, how fun it will be, and it's like, oh, it's just the same. Like, at best, it's the same. Great. Awesome. Stoked about that.
Yeah. New toys. And it's like getting socks for Christmas or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Although I like socks for Christmas now as an adult.
Yeah, agreed. I get them every year, and they freaking slap.
Jeff Okuda at 3 for Detroit. Not exciting. Is what it is.
Yeah.
There we go.
Alrighty, so New York Giants.
Ryan Pace is the drunk dad who burnt the tree. All right.
Alright, New York Giants. I'm going... Here's the thing. This is where I'm, like, not sure that I'm saying what will happen. I'm now I think I'm going what should happen. I'm going Isaiah Simmons, man. Here's my argument for it. And I will new head coach is Joe Judge, right? Special teams coordinator out of New England. It's like, if anyone is going to value the versatility of a player, it's someone who worked for Bill Belichick. And if anyone who worked for Bill Belichick is going to value it, it's going to be the special teams coordinator for Bill Belichick. Because it's just like, special teams coordinators in general, I think oftentimes are better big picture football thinkers, because they just, like, they have to be adaptable. Because it's like, offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators get some say in who their team picks. Like, they'll be like, hey, I want this guy.
Yeah.
Special teams coordinators do not get that. Special teams coordinators just get thrown 12 players, and they're like, hey, here's your squad this week. Do what you need to.
Right.
And so I tend to be a pretty big believer in special teams coordinators as head coaches. I think I don't know that I think this will definitely happen. I think more likely is Andrew Thomas out of Georgia or Tristan Wirfs. But I think there's a chance Isaiah Simmons goes higher than we all are expecting, because we all think he's very good and want him to go early, and then keep like bemoaning the fact that he won't go early. But there's a lot of buzz right now that the NFL media is farther off on their mock drafts than they normally are, and I think he might be one of the players that's the case on. Like, people might be like,
can you throw the Isaiah Simmons highlights on the...
Yes, definitely. Oh, yeah. I just think there's, like, a chance that NFL teams are smart, and they're like, we all saw Derwin James be a goddamn freak, and we're going to do the exact same thing, but better with Isaiah Simmons.
Okay, so I like what you're saying here, because maybe this is giving David Gettleman too much credit, but people seem to think that the Giants are taking a tackle. I have them taking a tackle in my mock draft, but what better way to protect the elite defensive prospect on the board than to make everyone think that you're just going to take a tackle?
Yeah, I don't know. Gettleman has a history of taking athletic, sort of hybrid safety linebackers. Shaq Thompson was his take back in, like, 2015.
Okay.
So it's not like he is, like, has never picked that position before. That said, Shaq Thompson was, like, pick number 24 rather than pick number 4. I would not be upset with them going O-line. That said, I don't think their O-line was, like, that horrible last year, if I remember correctly. Because they got Zeitler from the Browns. I think they were decent. I gotta be honest, I don't totally remember. But yeah, I don't know. I think Isaiah Simmons is just a goddamn freak. I think he's gonna be, like I said, I think he has real potential to be multiple defensive player of the year.
Yeah. It looks like they need a right tackle, maybe.
Their left tackle is set, though?
I'm going to look it up. Okay, so on the offensive line, so they have Nate Solder, Will Hernandez, Spencer Pulley, Kevin Zeitler, and Nick Gates. So they've got good offensive line. I feel like maybe just that Nick Gates at that right tackle position is what people are saying they should do. But yeah, Will Hernandez was an early second-round pick last year. Nate Solder, they signed him from the Patriots. So, like, But since it is a weak link position group, you want to make sure you don't have any holes there that you can go in and have a solid unit.
But you don't want to be moving. Like, you don't necessarily. I don't think it's always smart to be moving tackles left, right, left, right. I think a lot of players can't do that. And it's like the right tackle.
What about this is moving a tackle left, right, left, right?
If you were to take an offensive lineman, because you already have Nate Solder on the left.
Yeah, so
if you take a tackle,
you could take a right tackle.
But are you going to take a right tackle at 4? I don't think any NFL team is going to take a right tackle at 4.
I feel like tackles are more fluid nowadays, but a lot of guys play both sides in college, but I don't know, maybe
I think like Jedrick Wills is like a top flight right tackle prospect, and I'm actually sort of the opinion that maybe taking a right tackle at 4 like that high in the draft is not a bad idea, because it's, like we said, a weak link position group. But like the NFL does not agree, and Gettleman clearly is like an old school thinker. He took Saquon Barkley 4th. Like, I don't think he'll go right tackle that high. It does seem like the board could fall in a way that it makes sense for the Giants to take a tackle with the 4th pick in the 2nd round. Especially, there's a guy named Josh Jones who will come up before too long, who's like a probably top flight tackle prospect who just played at Houston, so people don't give a crap. So I think it would not shock me if people are just assuming that he'll be there.
Yeah. But yeah, I like it. Isaiah Simmons at 4 to the Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
All right. Who are you going
Flowers, great name for a guy opponents don't find threatening.
It's solid. It's solid. Who you going?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for the fact that, like, drafting O-line is not just, like, it's like an investment that radiates out, where it's like, okay, if you've invested in Daniel, like Aaron Clapper is saying here, if you've invested in Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, like, continue to invest in Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley.
Right. I think that's fair. I think that's a decent argument.
Yeah.
If anyone's looking to trade down, the Giants might be. They would be a great team to trade.
I don't think it's Gettleman's style, but you're right that like 4 could be a good position to trade. Any of the teams like 3, 4. I don't see the Dolphins trading down because they might not need more ammo. But like, if someone wants the top tackle, if someone wants Isaiah Simmons, if someone wants Tua, you could move up into that tier of players right there that's going to go off the board from like 3 to 6 or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Should we move on to